Okay, so this is the atom. It has a bunch of shit inside it, whatever. You know what's a question I bet no one's ever asked? Who gives a fuck, dude? Like, why is it so important for us to know exactly how the electron moves?
Look, the electron moves in orbit like this, and shut the fuck up, nerd. But I guess if you're in school or you decided to study physics in uni, you kind of need to know it for now. And your dopamine system is just it's gone, bro. It left when the pandemic hit, and you haven't heard a thing from it since. It's fucked. So now you have to watch like my autistic ass explain this shit instead of your probably like world-renowned professor. Anyways,
The first, just fucking absolute virgin to have his own atomic theory was John Dalton. Like, look at this dude, bro. Who sits like that? You can just tell he got no bitches.
so he basically said that all elements are made of these really small things called atoms. And atoms of the same element are identical in size, mass, shape, etc. Which, if you think about it, that's not even that fucking smart. Bro just said big stuff is made up of small stuff and expected us to think he was a genius. And then when his homies were like, yo, why can't we see these atoms though? He was like, trust, daddy, it's there. The one non obvious thing he did say was that, bro, atoms are the smallest form of particles. So they literally cannot be broken down further, and there's nothing inside of them. Trust me on this, guys. That's exactly what he said. Good job, Reed. So basically, Dalton was just a waste of space. Now, if you had even a shred of curiosity in you, you might ask, well, how did we actually figure out that there was real stuff inside the atom? But you don't, so you didn't. Keep hitting that bong. We're so proud of you. So next was J.J. Thompson. He came up with the plum pussy model. What? Oh, plum pudding model. My bad on that. He was the first one to realize that atoms had things in them. Basically, he came up with this nerdy ass experiment. He used this machine called the cathode ray tube, which really should be called the cathode gay tube. Dude, look at the shit. It has like two dicks, then the whole thing kind of looks like a dick. It's like a mega dick that branches off into two other dicks. And they're all of different sizes too. I mean, god damn, bro really wanted to rev the penis size inclusivity programming. Anyways, the experiment is actually pretty simple. You take some stupid ass element like gold or whatever and connect a power source to the gay tube, which then causes the element to emit a cathode ray, which is like a laser beam kind of thing that just like shoots out of the element. So basically, the element just jizzes out the cathode ray when a power source is attached.
Anyways, it then proceeds to bend towards a positively charged plate here, which causes Thomson to conclude that these gold jizz particles are actually negatively charged. And then he also figured out that these particles were 1,000 times smaller than the hydrogen atom. But how did this lead him to conclude that the electrons were a part of the atom and not just this jizz beam?
Well, because he showed that a smaller particle than the atom exists, and since atoms make up everything, this stuff has to be in the atom.
He then tried this cathode shit with like 4 or 5 different other materials, and then he concluded that the electrons exist in the atoms of all elements. Which, I mean, if you think about it for a minute, he did kind of just racially profile the atoms, eh? He saw like 5 of them wearing these electron turbans, and he was just like, terrorists.
Now, it was known at the time that atoms had a neutral charge. So then Thomson was like, okay, so I have an atom which has electrons inside it, which means it's negative. Fuck, how do I make it positive? Alright, fuck it, I'll just say it's swimming in this pool of positively charged cum. I don't know, whatever, bro. And he called this the plum pudding model. But it was wrong.
Because this man called Rutherford just woke up one day in just a pile of hay or something. I don't think they did beds back then. And just chose violence, dude. His thinking was this. If I get the Glock 9000 that just jizzes out these alpha particles with 2 protons and 2 neutrons, and I shoot them at this piece of shit gold foil which contains atoms of gold, then they should just pass straight through because, as Thompson said, the atoms are mostly made of empty space with these very small electrons that aren't big enough to deflect the big daddy alpha particles. But then, guess what? Big titty twist time. Some of the atoms were like, fuck that, zoom, zoom, motherfucker, and proceeded to just deflect at an insane angle, which Rutherford was able to detect because he's a fucking nerd and had the presence of mind to set up like detectors all around the gold foil. Geek. So now our boy Rutherford is losing his shit, dude. He just goes out, starts slapping autistic children, peeing on dogs and shit, all kinds of weird stuff. And then he comes back and he's like, okay, well, I guess the atom must be different somehow. So now he figures there must be some like heavily positively charged shit in the atom. But it must also be small because only 1 in 20,000 alpha particles were deflected. Boom, nucleus is born. It's a shit at the center of the atom that carries positive charge. That's all you need to know. And what did he say about the electrons, you ask? Jack fucking shit, dude. My guy couldn't be bothered to give a fuck after all this gold foil shit. It's like, you know when you've spent like 10 hours writing an essay continuously because you left it until the deadline once again because you just don't learn, you degenerate fuck? So then when you get to the conclusion, you just repeat the same shit, but just add in conclusion at the start, like that's gonna do something. Yeah, that's what he did, okay? So give him a break. He found the nucleus, he was like, fuck it, I'll just say the electrons go vroom vroom, circle around the nucleus or something. I don't know, dude. But a massive question remains. How can these atoms be stable? Like, why don't electrons, which are negatively charged, just collapse in on the nucleus, which contains protons? Because positive and negative attract, right? Well, we'll answer that in the next video, because this is getting fucking long. I can't be asked anymore.